Building with Papa. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a hydroponic garden, or you can call it a grow garden or tower garden, whatever you prefer. Anyway, I'm going to show you it could be done with just 5-gallon buckets, or if you want a bigger reservoir of water so you don't have to fill it more often, I'm going to show you how to do it with a 20-gallon trash can. Okay, let's get started. Okay, for your grow tower, these are the tools and some of the supplies you're going to need to build it. Okay, I'm going to put the pump and some other items in the description. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a grow tower or tower garden. Alright, you can do it with all 5-gallon buckets. I've seen people do it with 5-gallon bucket on the bottom where you put your pump, and a 3-gallon, 2.5-gallon bucket on top. And I've seen them with a bigger bucket on the bottom. And I'm going to use Rubbermaid. It's 20 gallons. This way, when I use it for the water and the nutrients that... Alright, well, let's get started. I'm going to show you how to mark up your buckets and then how to cut them. All your buckets will be cut out like this, the bottoms of the buckets. Now your lids, your top bucket lid stays solid. Now all your other lids are going to get attached to the bottom of the bucket. So now we're going to mark these for your first bucket. Okay, so if you're using a 5-gallon bucket for your reservoir, it doesn't get cut on the bottom. Okay, this is where your pump will go. Your lid will go on here, but your lid, all the lids will be cut out except your top lid. So your top lid, no cut, and your bottom bucket, no cut. All right. Now I'm just going to go ahead and mark this first one, and then we'll drill them all together at the same time. Okay, I taped them all together so they don't slide around. I only marked one, and now you get a long enough drill bit that'll go through all of them. So okay, now all the lids, the smaller holes are done. Now all you have to do is drill the center hole for your pipe or for whatever you're going to use to bring up through the bottom. I'm going to be using a 1/2-inch tube. At this point, you can take your handles off. Put 2-inch tape right underneath here, and then 2-inch tape at the bottom. Now once you put the tape on, mark them every 6 inches across, but then put this about the middle and do every 6 inches. Now you're going to mark the bucket because that's where you're going to drill the hole, and you mark the tape because it's going to act as your tape measure when you're doing the other buckets.
Okay, now that you have them all marked, cut these holes out first before you cut the bottom out. I don't know if it makes any difference, but I want this to be as strong as possible when I'm pushing on it. And don't forget to have a screwdriver to get the plastic out every time you cut, because as you cut, it heats up the plastic and it melts and stays inside. And then it's going to be more difficult to make the next cut. You'll be glad you did that. All right, I got to get through all these 3 buckets, and we'll go to the next one. The size hole you're cutting for these depends on if you're putting the PVC in, or if you're going to use the foam noodle, or whatever you're going to use. I made this a little smaller than the foam noodle because I'll show you how I cut them and how they're going to sit in here. All right, got a lot more holes to do. Okay, now we're going to cut out the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and cut the circle hole for the tubing to go through.
Now these are so I can put the jigsaw. Cut it with the jigsaw. Okay, now that's cut. You got to trim it up. You got to get all these burrs off. You don't want any of this to get into the pump, or you're going to have a problem with your pump. Okay, now that you have the bottom cut out, now you get your lid, and you're going to bolt it to the bottom. Make sure the holes line up. Okay, there we go. If the holes don't line up, then re-drill it. Now you're going to use a screw nut with some washers. The washers are also to help if you happen to make the holes too big. Okay, get the screw through there.
Okay, make sure you get the nuts and bolts either stainless steel or zinc coated. All right, we have the first one done. If you're going to use a larger container to hold the water like I am, a 20-gallon or whatever, if you're doing just the 5-gallon one, you just bolt it together like this. You snap this on top of the other 5-gallon one, and that's it. But if you're going to use something bigger and it has a different type of a lid, you're going to need to use longer screws, okay? And then put your nut and washer on this, tighten all the way, and then put this on with another nut and washer, okay? Okay, once you have these tightened down all the way, then you can take your other top. You don't have to do this with the 5-gallon. If this is going to be what's holding your water, that's it. Stays there. Then after you bolt that, it goes on top. Your pump goes in here, okay? And all the way up. That creates your tower, okay? But because I want to go with a 20-gallon, I'm modifying this. Okay, so now because I have to modify it, this here, didn't realize this here is lower than the rest. If the water goes in here and the nutrients just going to roll out, and that's going to be a problem. So I've decided to cut this out.
If you're going to use it, this knife here, be very careful. It's sharp. There we go. Cut here. Now that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut it and bend it down. And bend it down. That's going to get the water to go back into the barrel. That's all I'm looking to do. Do it on both sides. Cut about a quarter-inch off of this, because your holes are way back here anyway. All right? Anything that goes down there, I want it to be caught by these and then just drag down. Going to stay well. If you want to cut more out, you can. It's up to you. I think I'm going to cut a little bit. It's just going to ensure me that the water goes back into the barrel, and that's what I'm looking for. It's not fancy, but it works. Whatever doesn't fall through the holes will slide down here and fall in.
Okay, well, I'm running into some issues using this top. But what I did is I cut this groove out. So water hits here, it'll fall in. Same here. But I had to cut out some other openings here for the other water to come out. But what I've decided to do is take some Gorilla Seal tape, okay? And I'm gonna cut it and put it right from the top of this and down here, all the way around on this bottom, so that it keeps all the water going into the barrel. All right, it's a little modification. It's the first time I'm doing it with a 20-gallon tank or with a trash can, and so I've run into a few issues. You won't have those issues if you're just using a 5-gallon water tank, okay? Because your 5-gallon bucket will line up with all of this and you won't have any issues. Okay, now I have all the barrels cut with the lids all attached. This is the top one, okay? I went with a 3.5 gallon for the top, okay? You bolt them down, have everything ready. So if you're gonna use a 5-gallon water tank for the bottom, this is how it would go. This is your first one. Your pump goes inside of here. You drill a hole in the side to get your electrical wire out. Okay? Then this goes on top. This goes on top. Meantime, you would be passing your hose through. And then your top. Okay? Now that would be your tower garden. Okay? They're not snapped together because I'm not using this one. All right? This I just wanted to show you. And there's 12 plants that go in here and 12 here. That would be 24. I'm using a 20-gallon tank, and I'm going to use a third bucket. I'll have 36 plants. And the top one's going to be for the sprinkler. Okay? Where all the water's going to come through. This is how it would look if you're just doing a 5-gallon water bucket. All right, just wanted to show you. Now, clean up all your edges, take it over to a hose, hose everything out, let it dry. Okay, I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to show you how to assemble it. And I'm using the 20-gallon one. Okay, and this is how mine starts out. All right, now here I'm going to put the, once I hose everything down and dry it out, I'm going to use the sealing tape. It's a sealer. It'll stick to here and here and all the way around the edge. I came up with some issues with it, but it's sturdy. I have this one on wheels. All right, I'm going to get everything cleaned up, and then I'm going to show you how to assemble all of it with the pump, the hose, and the sprinkler on top. Okay, all right, almost done. All right, using a piece of sandpaper worked really good on this. Clean these edges off. Do all that first. Then hose them down, get everything out, and let them dry. Now we're gonna start to get the pump ready. So pick out the fitting that's going to work with your pipe or tubing, which I use this 1/2-inch tubing. So you're going to screw this on first. Okay, that's all the way on. Now we're going to go ahead and connect the pipe, tubing. And make sure that's on good and tight. Okay, so I've already put my water in the tank. I have a hole here for the plug to go through. And now we're gonna put the pump in. Okay, the cord is through, the pump is there. Now the first one we get is the barrel. Now remember, if you wanted to just use a 5-gallon bucket, that's fine. I have about 16, 17 gallons of water in here. It's gonna make it easier for me. All right, now I'd sealed the bottom. I told you I had a problem with this. And drilled a hole in here so that when you want to put in your nutrients or more water, you put a funnel right here and fill it up. Okay, so now you feed the tube through the center hole. Okay, now I lift it up a little, and I feel the pump, and now it's sitting on the bottom. Okay, this is clamped down tight. Now you get your next bucket. Make sure you get all the debris out. Now, I can still feel the pump. Now what you want to do is, I like to line up these holes with the middle here, okay, so everything's staggered. Now you can either tear off this piece for these to connect better. I want it to be on there good. If I have to take them apart, then I have to take that out. Okay, that's on nice and secure. Okay, each one of these buckets is going to give you 12 plants. That's 24, 36, 'Again, line that one up so it's in between those. Okay, it's on there nice and strong. Now we got to get this bucket, this is the top bucket. We got to get this one ready. Okay, now I got this that has the cutaways, the sprinkler head, and you can find one of these in the plumbing, in the electrical department. I happen to take one and just cut it to make like a sleeve small end because I need it to go. Okay, make sure you get it all the way down. I had to go put it on my vise in order to get it down far enough so this will work. Now, may have to cut this, so the way to figure it out is put this through here. And I'm going to need to cut one off. If you don't have this tool, then you can buy it in the description or just use a razor. Alright, so now let's get the sprinkler head on it. Now the sprinkler head, you want it to be 360 degrees so it sprays all the way around. Okay, now I have that on. Now we're going to put it through the hole. Then we're going to put this on the other end. Okay. Okay, so now we have that in. We have the sprinkler head in. Okay, this is going to spray along the sides and all drain down the holes. Okay. Now, We need the fitting to put the tubing on. So that goes down here. Okay, so now we have the nipple on, the sprinkler head in. This is your top bucket. Whether you use a 3.5 gallon bucket, a 5 gallon bucket, it's up to you, okay? I had this one, so I think it's gonna work well. All right, let's put it together now. Okay. Now we're gonna go up on top. Going to look at about where I need to cut this tubing. Don't want to cut it too short. Okay. Let's clamp it down.
Okay. Now this one has no holes. Right? They're all on. Now we're going to put the top one on.
Okay, now we're gonna cut the noodle, full noodle. These are like 2.5 inches, and I cut the holes at 2 inch because what we're going to do is we're going to cut this about 6 inches long. Okay, about 6 inches long. Then we're going to cut in just like this, here and here, all the way down. Okay, now we pull that out. Okay, so now it's like this. Then you're able to squeeze it to put it in the hole, but also I want to cut it not quite a 45. Okay, now I'm going to get them cut and we're going to put them in the buckets. I got a bunch to cut. Okay, now you take these, take this side that you cut about 45 degrees and squeeze that in there. Okay? And what's going to happen is you're going to put your earth sponge or whatever that you're going to put your seedlings in, or your pieces will go in here, and then the roots will fall off the bottom of this and they'll get the nutrients as they go through. All right, let me put these in. Okay, now I have all of them in except for these two. I left them out so that we can look inside and see how the water's coming down. All right, the tank has about 18 gallons of water in it, maybe 17. And I had put a hole down here, okay? to where I can add the nutrients in, okay, or just water when it's needed. But do this, you put your nutrients in. Okay, so let's go ahead and start it. Okay, it's pumping the water up. Now the water's coming down. Through these, hitting on each one of these down here, in here, where your plant is going to be, and that's going to water and give nutrients to your plants to be able to grow them. Okay, that's it. Building with Papa. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Give me a thumbs up if you can. I think it came out pretty good. All right, now I'm going to start planting.